לא חושב.
הסתפרת קצת, היית קצת יותר ארוך, היית צריך יותר.
כן,
נכון?
לא, אני מעריך.
אתה מעריך?
כן.
פה יש לך טלטלים, זה לא פשוט.
בסדר.
לא פשוט להעריך.
כן. זה טיפול, שמנים קצת, אני שם שמן פה ושם.
אוקיי.
היא יודעת.
מה?
The hair.
שאל אותך על שיער.
קושי בלהעריך שיער.
כן. בסדר, אבל למה לא?
How are you doing, Tal?
Really good. אבל חובש טיולים. נהנה מבסוט. ואני חושב שאני ואמא מתחילים גם לכבוד סבתא, מיזם אמיתי.
מה?
סוף שהקול שלה יהיה עולמי. המיזם צריך לבוא מהעם, מהעולם, לא מהרפואה.
הפרוטוקול שלו, של הלידות,
כן. זה ההתפתחות שהתפתחנו לכל ננסה, בעזרת השם. אין סיבה שלא. זה להציל חיים בסוף.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Would you call Judy, please?
בטח.
Judy has to talk to Ezra and see so that Zalman can do the singing. It's got to come to Ezra, and I'm going to tell her, and they're going to start in a second. Ezra.
Wait, is that the issue?
No, you can't come.
Oren, you could tell Oren. יאללה. חושב.
Zalman Chazal.
Hello, Abba. Abba? Hello.
Okay. Come, let's go into the car.
מזמור דוד, אדוני אני אלוהיך ומשכון דרך קודשך, הולך תמיד ודובר אמת בלבו, לא רגע על לשונו, לא עשה לרעהו רעה וחופה, ונשא לקרובו. נגזה בעיניו נמאס ותראה מה יכבד, נשבע להרעיו לא ימיר, כספו לו במשך, שוחד נקי לו לאח, עושה אל לא ימות לעולם. התכנסנו כאן לחלוק כבוד לגברת חנה סלום, כמו של ג'ודי, שעברה לעבוד בזמן האחרון, ואני מזמין את ג'ודי הבת להגיד בבקשה.
So I spent a ton of time, only I'll be in English, preparing, and then when I see you all here, I wanted to start it with something else that I'm a terrible person, and Joseph knows my main complaint is I don't have any friends. That's what I'm always saying. And this experience, and you know, I'm a little odd, and I do home births, and even the home birth midwives won't talk to me because they think I'm charging too little, and I deny authority too much, and it's so good to feel that you're all here, and I feel very loved, and want to never say again that I don't have any friends. So, I prepared about my mother is all I ever had was my mom. My dad, in contrast, died very young, when I was very young, and he worked long hours, and he smoked, and he kept everything inside, and maybe that's not such a good thing. He never spoke. In fact, it really impressed us. After he died, we found in his Army discharge that he was actually in counterintelligence, mining prisoners, German prisoners for information, which we never knew, and he never talked about. But Mom told everyone everything, all the time. She never stopped talking, and she told us, she never kept a secret in her life. She never lied. She told us stories and stories, and till the end. And at 98 years old, she made a new friend, her boyfriend at Bridge, and he fell in love with her very deeply. And when he said, when she died, when I talked to him and told her that she died, he said, that she died in her sleep and easily, and he said, I'm very happy for her, but I'm very sad for me because it's such a loss. And he said she was the most honest, warm person, and she was. My mother's father was a very, very active Zionist. He was the head of the Jewish community in Ostrava, Czechoslovakia. He was a lawyer, and he knew that he would be the first target the Nazis would go after, since he organized all the Jewish activities. And he was also head of in addition, he headed the Maccabi youth group. And during the winter, he would take all the young people skiing into the Beskibi Mountains. And he was very loved for that. My mother's brother's friend talked a lot about him, because he said, why did my parents let this guy take us for all these weekends? But he did, and he described that her father was actually a terrible skier, and his nickname was Pets, and as he would ski, he would scream, out of the way, Pets is coming. She didn't have very good control. And the only thing I have from him is, this is a plaque that they made for him after 25 years of running the Maccabi Youth. And I'm very happy, and it says, thank you. So he really was something else. A little guy like me, he was my height. I never met him, but he was a big, big Zionist. And because of that, when I finally got Mom to move here, she was so happy. She just saw Zalman outside, and she said, this is her home, and Israel is her home, and this is her homeland. And it made sense, because she was so happy to be in Israel because of her father. My mother's mother, who was 16 years younger than him, helped people cross the border from Czechoslovakia to illegally during the war, in the beginning of the war, before she was taken to the camps. She didn't cross herself, but she got my mother out on the Kindertransport, which we don't know anything how she did it. My mother doesn't remember anything. Ostrava is the very east side of Czechoslovakia. She had to take a train all the way to Prague and put her on the Kindertransport in May '39. Never to see her daughter again. But happy ending. Mom had a job. She worked in some private school, and eventually got to America when she was 19 and married the love of her life and had 2 kids, and talked, told us everything, all her stories, everything she knew. And because of her constant, I think I grew up unscathed. I think her legacy is to tell stories, and her legacy lives on. 2 granddaughters are doctors, and one of her brother's daughter is a storyteller. She is from the University of Oxford, and she is an author of many books. But my mom was angry, and my mom was really angry that her mother didn't defy the authorities, and even though the Germans wouldn't let her out, sneak over the border and join her little daughter, her 13-year-old daughter in England. And Mom taught me to ignore authority when it's evil. And she said all the time, you have to have a valid passport, always have a valid passport. But if you can't go legally, then go illegally. You know, don't stay behind. Go, do what's right. And this message infused my life, and I try to teach it to my children. I don't have as strong will as maybe, but for example, when Rena was wanted to be in the Israeli intelligence, in the National Security Agency, so she didn't get invited. So I said, did somebody else get invited that you know? She said, yes. I said, you go with her, and you sit and wait, and you insist on being interviewed. And she said, Mom, I can't do that. I said, you do it, you go, you sit wherever you have to sit. And she went, because I made her, and called me from there and said, Mom, they're not interviewing me. There's nothing I can do. I said, you sit there, and you wait. And at 3 o'clock, they took her in and interviewed her, and she indeed served in Shmona Matayim, and it changed her life, I think. And midwife, I used my energy to make women do what they think they can't do sometimes, and I got that from Mom. And if there's anyone here who needs to do something and they're not sure because it's against the law, don't stay back. Take action. Improve the world. And tell your stories. Fill your kids with your story. And that's our legacy. Now, my mother's brother married a non-Jew, and so, as I say, they have a daughter who's a very kind of famous writer and author. And so I just have a little anecdote. She married a non-Jew, and once when I visited her, I was telling her husband, who knew nothing about Judaism or anything, so he said, what's this Shabbat? So I said, oh, Shabbat. He said, what do you do on Shabbat? I said, oh, Shabbat, we mostly sit around and talk. And he said, talk all day? What could you possibly say all that time? You know, as Anna said, you know, the non-Jews, after the weather, you know, they're kind of done. So she leaned over when he said, well, what could you talk about all day? So she leans over to me and him. She said, Georgia, have I ever been short of something to say? And I'm only half Jewish. So the point, I just want to say that my mother should continue to inspire people. Talk, and don't be scared to question authority and even defy authority. And before I finish and read a poem, Tal the Kohen is back here, and maybe for this purpose, my mother died now. Here, Tal's looking for a shidduch, 27, and he defies authority when necessary, and he wants to have lots of kids and a dati woman. So I'm always want to help him. I want to end with a serious poem I wrote many years ago that means a lot to me. It includes my mother's mother, who I suppose if I knew her, I would call her grandma, but I know nothing about her really. I never met her. And my mother and me. It's called My Mother's Mother. I have your soft brown eyes. The eyes that never met mine. That turned into ashes at Auschwitz, swept out by a German broom, leaving my mother motherless. Out of the ashes arise my dark eyes, seeing and sorting so many contradictions, so many possibilities. No grandparents to glue me down, a free spirit. I was born with your lugubrious dark eyes, your soft nature, a desire to mother all, a mother for my mother. That's what I've been, and it's great because I have no guilt. I really helped my mother as much as I could, and even last night we talked for like an hour and a half. It was great. Thank you.
רינה, נכדה.
שלום, אני אביטל, עמיתה של חנה. אני, מתוך כבוד לאמא שלי שעלתה לפני בערך 35 שנה ועדיין לא מבינה עברית, אני גם אעשה את זה באנגלית. My name is Avital and I'm Hannah's granddaughter. Nothing I can say in a few minutes can summarize 100 years of greatness, but I want to share a small glimpse of an incredible woman she was. Oma had a very special relationship. She loved her grandchildren. Family was always her first priority. She was a beacon of light and hope, an anchor, a safe house, which is extraordinary for someone who was uprooted, forced to move to England, and then to the United States, who lost her closest family and still built a life from scratch. She found her voice, she found her hobbies, she found her path starting at age 14. She spoke her truth, things that people feared to say. She was classy. 2 weeks ago, she looked at her daughter, which was wearing a blue print dress with leopard gold pants underneath, and said, I don't like the way she looks. I don't like the way she dresses. Those leggings don't match the dress. And she actually complimented my clothes, just so you know. She was one of the only people on earth that I could tell absolutely anything to. She would listen, she wouldn't judge, she wouldn't try to say the right thing. There was no slogans. She would just be there, present and strong. The past few years, I have faced challenges. Oma was the one person I knew I could tell everything and nothing would shock her. But when she wanted to share her secrets, I had to sit down and put the phone on the side so I don't hear what she has to say. Because she was brutally honest and sometimes shared too much information. She gave advice while hugging you and embracing you. She taught life lessons. She said all the time, life isn't fair, or it is what it is. But she said, life is beautiful and you make the best of it. She had 2 boyfriends in the past decade, so to all you single ladies, you're either doing something wrong or you just need to find a rich 90-year-old man with old school manners. I asked, why do you think everyone loves you? Why does everyone want to be around you? She would say humbly, I don't know. And we all knew it wasn't because of her cooking. It was her strength, her happiness, her wisdom, her honesty, her personality. She had the power that drew people in. Simple qualities, but very rare today. When my mom was 18, my grandmother lost the love of her life. She would tell us how she stood at that time at a crossroad and she chose life yet again. And that was a turning point in her life. She traveled the world, she danced, she went to the opera, and she made us sit for 3 hours in the opera in the sun. 90s kids before they were afraid of the sun. And she painted a lot. She was healthy, she took about 10,000 vitamins a day. She listened to Gary Null on the radio, and she used to give us advice from this cuckoo head from the radio. Don't put on nail polish, it's not good for you. She made flower cards arrangements. She went to synagogue. She was part of her community. I don't think she paid the membership for the synagogue, but she was part of the community. And of course, she loved her garden, especially her black-eyed Susans in the summer. She appreciated every single day. She never looked back with bitterness. When we were children, she was hands-on. She told us stories about the countries she traveled to through the eyes of a dragon she invented. Because we used to fight over whose bed she would sit in. She called the dragon my bed, because we would fight my bed, no my bed. She was kind to everyone, but I could also gossip with her about anyone I wanted to. Even though she was born in 1925, I could throw in a few curse words and see how she'll react. And she wouldn't be upset. She just said, yeah, you're right, and I know. She was so proud of her grandchildren. When we came to synagogue, she would ask for an aliyah for us and proudly introduced her grandchildren from Israel. I remember us one time going camping, maybe in Ithaca or somewhere on the drive on the way to Niagara Falls. It rained all night. I was about 12, so my grandma was about 77. And it rained a lot, not like in Israel. And she woke up, I think last, and the tent was a few centimeters of rainwater. And she woke up smiling and said, I'm swimming! And I don't know many people her age that would respond like that or go camping with her grandchildren. She took a lot of pictures, but if you just stood still, she said, that's boring. Do something with your hands. Don't just stand like that. She loved her name. I always loved the name Hanna. She would say, I wanted to name my first daughter after her. I almost named her Hanna. But for some of us, it was too American. So when my second daughter was born, I wanted a powerful name. I called her Aline Hanna. And now I understand it is not the name. It's the love and the legacy you pass on. My oldest daughter is a true survivor, strong and happy. My youngest is fearless. She even punches me in the face once a week. Strong girls just like you. You loved your house. You loved being in control of life. You didn't like long visits. But this June, at 100 years old, while you still remember that there was a war in Israel before you became famished, every phone call you said, Avital, whenever you want, you and the kids get in an airplane and come stay with me. That meant everything to me. You were still our protector, our rock. You were cheap with money, a true refugee mindset. But you still took me to TJ Maxx and bought me whatever I wanted. You pampered me. For your grandchildren, you stepped aside your comfort zone. When I was around 30, you even stopped caring that we walked barefoot in your house. In the last few years, I started wondering if each visit might be my last. You spoke about death without sadness, just peacefully saying, enough is enough. A few weeks ago, I called you and you told me, please, don't cry over me when I die. I love my life. I regret nothing. It was a wonderful life, and I'm lucky to even have this phone call. Go to the beach or something. Enjoy your life. She loved talking. She loved telling her stories of Holocaust survivor. She loved the attention, especially she loved the free taxi and the free flowers. She loved to win. She played bridge. She played rummy cube with us for hours. She won at life. She lived it fully. She died the way she wanted, when she wanted. May we succeed in walking in your footsteps. May your happiness, honesty, long way with us. remain in our hearts forever and guide us from above. You are deeply loved and deeply missed. Your only child.
Our blessed family and friends, thank you for coming. To be gathered to celebrate an extraordinary life of my beloved grandmother, Hannah, celebrating 101 years of love, stubborn, was a fashionista comments. A century. It's almost impossible to comprehend everything she witnessed, experienced, and endured on this earth. As a child, father was the head of a Zionist youth group. One day, there could be a homeland for his people in Israel. She never, not for one day, ceased to be amazed that we are all here now. Hannah, her father Robert, brother John escaped Hitler to England. She lost her mother as a child, but persevered. All too young, she suffered the loss of her father and late husband and her brother, but she fought on. She built a home, she raised a family. She always spoke her full truth, making her thoughts known and never holding back. She would always light up when she saw someone she loved and always give them a compliment. Till literally her very, very last day, she remembered all of her great-grandchildren's names and told them how wonderful and beautiful they were and how lucky they were to come to this world. She knew how hard life is, how much pain we endure, but she never lingered on it. She felt lucky to have survived, lucky to have a great love in her life, and lucky to have 2 healthy children, just as she always said she had negotiated with God for. My siblings, cousins, children, nieces and nephews, and I have been blessed with the best grandmothers. I often think how lucky my children are to have had such women in their lives. I wish I could have known my maternal grandfather, and I wish my children could have known their grandmother. My father-in-law sadly passed away very young, before they were born. Oma, thank you for 101 years of strength. Thank you for your love. Thank you for excitement every time we saw each other. And thank you for the klopsies that you always gave me. And she always gave me an extra one in case we don't see each other again. May we carry your strength, your love, and your kindness forward. Thank you.
תהליך הנכד.
סבתא חנה. כולם מדברים על המספר 101, אבל אני רואה מספרים אחרים. הפעמים הרבות שעזבת את הנוחות של אמריקה ובאת להתנדב בצה"ל. בבית שלך בטוק שהיה ארמון אמריקאי מעם. הלב תמיד ישראל. המזכרות, התמונות, למעשה רוב הקישוטים בבית היו כחול לבן והגיעו מהארץ. הכוח שלך היה בכנות, בלי מסכות, בלי פילטרים. היית אומרת את האמת בפרצוף. זה אף פעם לא היה מיותר לך, זה תמיד עזר לך. ודווקא בגלל זה, כולם אהבו אותך. אפילו בגיל 98 זכית למצוא אהבה חדשה, חבר בן 89, שהיה מתקשר אל כל יום. הוכחת לנו שאף פעם לא מאוחר לחיות. זה גם. אבל השיעור הכי גדול קיבלתי מאמא. לפני 3 חודשים, כשכבר לא יכולת להישאר לבד בבית בניו יורק, וכשנמצאת בגינה שכל כך אהבת, חסרת אונים, אמא לא חשבה פעמיים. היא עזבה הכל, טסה אלייך לחודש, ואז עשתה את המעשה הגדול מכולם. היא הביאה אותך הביתה לישראל, לחודשיים האחרונים. אמא לימדה אותי בחודשיים האלה מה זה כיבוד הורים אמיתי ומה זו מסירות נפש. בזכותה זכית לסגור מעגל. אבא ואני לקחנו אותך בכיסא גלגלים לטיולים כאן, באלון שבות. הוא הראה לך את היישובים, את הישיבה, ואמרנו לך, סבתא תראי, זה נס גדול. ואת חזרת אחרינו בהתרגשות. זה נס גדול, זה נס גדול. אבא אמר לך אז, והנכדים שלך הם המורשת שלך. ובאמת זכית למורשת ולהיות צלולה עד יומך האחרון ממש. ניצלת כל רגע בחיים, והקדוש ברוך הוא זיכה אותך בנס של מיטת נשיקה, בדיוק כמו שרצית. את נטמנת היום בלב הנס הזה. אבל על הנס הזה צריך לשמור, ואנחנו שומרים עליו באש. אני עומד פה כלוחם, כצלף שנלחם 45 יום בעזה. זכיתי להגן על העם שלנו וגם לחסל מחבלים ודאיים שביקשו להשמיד אותנו. זו התשובה הציונית הכי חזקה לחוסר האונים שחווית אז בשואה. ראיתי את המוות בעיניים, אבל ראיתי בעיקר את יד השם שומרת עלינו. כל הצוותים בפלוגה היו תחת אש תופת. שמענו את הכדורים של חמאס שורקים לנו מעל ראשים יום ולילה. ספגנו מטחי פצמ"רים רבים, ובדרך נס איש לא נפגע מהאש הזו. זו הייתה שרשרת של ניסים גלויים בשלושת הצוותים שלנו. בצוות הראשון לוחם חטף כדור 0.5 של צלפים ישירות לחזה. הנס היה שהכדור פספס את הקרמי הקדמי. ראיתי בעיניים את הקרמי האחורי שהתעכב והפך כעור כקערה עמוקה מאוד. אם הכדור היה פוגע קודם בלוח הקדמי, הוא לא היה שורד את ההדף. הדיוק הזה שבו הכדור עבר דרכו במהירות, הוא שהשאיר אותו בחיים ללא פגע ארוך טווח. בצוות השני הלוחמים שרדו פגיעת RPG ישירה לבית ששהו בו ללא פגע. ולאחר מכן אותו צוות ערך על מטען חבלה, ורק הנפץ התפוצץ בעוד המטען עצמו שתק בנס. בצוות שלי, צוות 3, פגשנו מחבלים פנים אל פנים. היינו בטווח 0, תחת אש, ויצאנו משם ללא פגע. ושם גם קרה לי הנס האישי כשפגז של 20 מילימטר נחת מטר לידי, ופילח את האדמה במקום את הגוף שלי. הרגשתי ברגליים ממש את הרעידות, ואיך הקדוש ברוך הוא שומר עלינו. בפלוגה השכנה ראינו את היד המכוונת באירוע קשה, שבו התפוצץ מטען כלי מגור על המר. במקום 2 מטענים משני הכיוונים, רק אחד התפוצץ. שני לוחמים נהרגו במקום, ושלישי נפצע אנושות. אבל הנס היה מספר 4. הלוחם הרביעי נפצע קל בלבד. ומי היה הלוחם הזה? זה היה הפרמדיק. בורא עולם שמר על הפרמדיק בחיים כדי שהוא יוכל להציל את החיים של הפצוע האנוש, והוא אכן איתנו היום. ואני חושב, סבתא, שבעצם כולנו, כל העם שלנו, אנחנו הפרמדיק הזה. ניצלנו מתופת כדי שנוכל להציל אחרים. זהו, להוות אור לגויים ולהביא חיים לעולם, דווקא בזמנים הקשים והחשוכים האלה. אבל לניסים האלה יש מחיר שסוג לי בלב. איבדתי במלחמה הזאת את חברי הילדות שלי, את מלכי הגרוס, השם ייקום דמו. איתי בוקר חבר שאיבד את יד ימינו במלחמה, ואת טל חיים סיגון, זיכרונו לברכה, חבר נפש שלי, שהמלחמה הזאת הרגה לו את הנפש. שלושתם למדו איתי בתיכון 4 שנים, בכיתה של 40 תלמידים בלבד. הם המחיר של התקומה, ואנחנו החיים, אנחנו הניצחון. ב-2009 זכיתי לנסוע איתך סבתא ברכבת, הקינדרטרנספורט. היית אחת מ-669 ילדים שניקולס ווינטון הציל. אני הייתי הנכד היחיד שם. זכיתי להחזיק לך את היד ולתמוך בך, לראיין אותך ולשמוע את הסיפור. אפילו זכיתי ללוות את ניקולס ווינטון ולהחזיק לו את היד בדרך לבמה. ווינטון לימד אותי כמה כוח יש לאדם אחד להציל נשמות. סיפרת לי אז איך הרכבת שלך הובילה לחיים, אבל השאירה את אמא שלך מאחור לרכבת אחרת, רכבת למוות. ולכן סבתא, אני רוצה להישבע לך היום. נשבעתי בחיי פעמיים שבועת אמונים לצה"ל, פעם ופעם בקורס חובשים. היום אני נשבע לך את השבועה השלישית. כשם שניקולס ווינטון הציל 669 עולמות, וכשם שהפרמדיק ניצל כדי להציל, אני ואמא מקימים עכשיו מיזם עולמי להצלת אמהות מדימום, גורם המוות מספר 1 בלידות. מיזם Gravity Medicine. המטרה שלנו היא לוודא שאף אמא לא תרד מהרכבת בטרם עת, כמו שאמא שלך נאלצה לעשות. אנחנו נדאג שהרכבות מעכשיו יובילו רק לחיים. זה הניצחון הכי גדול בהיטלר. ההמשכיות, החיים ומדינת ישראל. כמו שאבא דאג שבחדר שלך בסוף ימייך תמיד יהיו רקפות פרחים, וכמו שהכי אהבת את הפרחים בגינה המסודרת שלך בניו יורק. אנחנו נמשיך להפריח את החיים פה. את סיימת את המשמרת שלך, סבתא. עכשיו אנחנו לוקחים את הפיקוד. נוחי בשלום על משכבך. אנחנו חזקים, אנחנו פה. ואת איתנו לנצח, עם ישראל חי. תגיד עכשיו.
עקביה בן ארי אומר, הסתכלת בשלושה דברים ואין אתה בא לידי עבירה. דע מאין באת, לאן אתה הולך, לפני אתה תיתן חשבון, מאין באת, לאן אתה הולך, במקום הפעם הבטלה, לפני אתה תיתן חשבון, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. גדול היסד רב העלייה, אשר עיניך פקוחות על כל דרכי בני אדם, לתת לאיש כדרכיו וכפרי מעלליו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני צורי והחלטת בו, אדוני נתן ואדוני לקח, יהי שם אדוני מבורך, לו רחום מכפר עוון ולא יבא לשלופו ולא יאיר כל חמתו. קדיש.
תגדל ויתקדש מרבה, בעלמא דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי וצמח ויקרב משיחי. בחייכון ובמכון ובחי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יש מרבה מבורך, יש מרבה מבורך לעולם ולמען מיה. יתברך וישתבח, יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלל שמי דקדושה. בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא, ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום ממומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
אנחנו נצא בכניסה הראשית לכיוון שמאלה, חברים ובני משפחה מתקבלים בנסיעת המיטה.